Amadi cried and called for her mother, who was standing and chatting with her cousin on her way home. She had no idea that her house was burning with her daughter inside. Amadi continued to call for help until the fire got closer to her, and got choked by the smoke, and fainted. Welcome to African Stories by Mandy. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's start from the beginning. In a village in Nigeria, there lived a beautiful, brave, and hard-working 8-year-old girl named Amadi. She lived with her mother and her 4-year-old brother. Amadi, unlike her peers, was responsible for cooking, cleaning, and fetching water and wood after school while her mother was relaxing under the tree or sitting and eating with her younger brother. If she was not doing one of those things, she would be chatting with her friends for hours and hours. Amadi's father, a training soldier, hated to see his daughter doing all the work while her mother did nothing, but he couldn't do anything about it. He once spoke about it, and Amadi's mother said she was training Amadi so his hands were tied and he did not see training a child to work as a problem. He understood how training could equip a person, so having a child who was able to do things for herself was not bad, but he still didn't want to see her burdened with chores. Her training began when she was just 7 years old, and she got used to it after some time, but that didn't mature her. Yes, she was a hard-working 8-year-old girl who was capable of doing house chores, yet she was still a child who wished she had more time for playing than doing chores. One day, when her mother sent her to fetch water in the river, she saw a huge and long black snake crawling on the way towards the river. Scared, she tried to run from it by crossing the river to the other side. While crossing, her foot got stuck in the mud underneath. She was uncertain about what to do, whether to move forward or turn around and face the snake. Neither option was ideal, but she had to make a decision quickly while feeling terrified and in need of help. Afraid of becoming more stuck and being attacked by the snake, she remained in that position instead of turning around to check if the snake was still there. She froze, hoping to be rescued by someone coming to the river. She wanted to leave the water, but she believed the snake was waiting for her to come out and attack her, so she stayed put. She had no idea that the snake didn't see her and had already slithered away, entering a hole near the river. Luckily, a middle-aged woman who knew her came to fetch water, saw her inside the river, and quickly rescued her. Frightened and unable to speak, Amadi was accompanied by the woman to her house. When the woman told Amadi's mother her side of the story, she was shocked by what had just happened and thanked her for rescuing her daughter. The woman then returned to the river. Amadi told her mother the full story while crying and shaking, and her mother comforted her. From that day, Amadi's mother stopped sending her alone to the river and forest. Instead, she collected water and wood herself, even though she had to force herself to do it. However, Amadi still had to cook and do other chores. There was a day when Amadi accidentally fell while carrying a plate of fish for her mother's friends who were visiting. Her mother scolded her as if she had fallen on purpose and as if she was old, forgetting that she was too young to even prepare food in the first place. She punished her by making her fry another fish for them while she was sitting down under the tree and laughing with her friends, who seemed like they were not happy about the way she treated her daughter. They told her she was being too harsh on her, but she insisted that she was training her. Angry, Amadi left and fried the fish and served it. Her mother did not even thank her, she just ate with her friends and her young brother and then instructed her to wash dishes after they were done eating. One day, exhausted from doing all the chores, and when her mother was not back from her aunt's wedding in the evening, she lit a candle and lay on a couch. Accidentally, she fell asleep, and the candle fell, starting a fire. Due to flammable liquids such as paraffin inside the lounge, the fire grew big and dangerous. Amadi woke up choking on smoke. She cried and called for her mother, who was standing and chatting with her cousin on her way home. She had no idea that her house was burning with her daughter inside. Amadi called for help until the fire got closer to her, and she was choked by the smoke and fainted as a result. She did not see when her neighbor rescued her. She found herself on a hospital bed with burns and wounds. Her left leg was badly burnt, and so was her left arm. She cried due to the pain and the wound and scars that will always remind her of the incident. Her mother, who only found out about the incident after Amadi was rushed to hospital, cried too as she saw the tiny body of her daughter lying on a hospital bed and blamed herself. If she hadn't been busy talking with her cousin until it was late and relied on her daughter to do all the house chores, she wouldn't have been in that situation. Her laziness cost her the health of her child. She only hopes that Amadi won't hate her for putting her life at risk because of her laziness and negligence. Even though she treated her as a maid and acted as if she did not love her daughter, she loved her. She was just a careless and lazy mother who preferred to lie down instead of working or doing house chores. People, including her friends and husband, often warned her about the danger of mistreating her child, but she did not listen, and she regretted not listening after the fire. On top of her guilt, she had to gain the courage to tell her husband about the tragedy she caused after he warned her. When she told him the news in the hospital, he was shocked. He left everything and rushed to see their daughter. Upon arriving, he found his wife miserable and sitting on a bench outside the room with Amadi. Even though he wanted to scold her so badly, he did not because she was suffering, and seemed like she regretted leaving their daughter alone until late. And he knew that she would get his message. Whenever he was angry, he did not talk right away. He just focused on their daughter, feeling her pain and also regretting not ensuring her safety and failing her as a father. He hated that he was always away from his family. Other than that, he loved his soon-to-be job. Even then, he had to leave his daughter in the hospital and return to work. He certainly did not want to leave her in that situation, but had no other option. They needed money the most, especially after the fire. He had to rebuild their house and also pay Amadi's medical bills. Rebuilding and purchasing new furniture cost him a lot of money, and he had to take out a loan from the bank. On top of that, he sent his wife to pay Amadi's medical expenses, which she settled before she was out of the hospital. After a month of hospitalization, Amadi finally came out of the hospital. Her excitement could not be hidden. She couldn't stop smiling. Staying in a hospital bed was not something she loved, so she was so happy to go back home. Her wounds were healed, and she did not hold grudges against her mother, although she blamed her for the incident. Surprisingly, her mother forbade her from doing all of them except washing dishes and sweeping and mopping the floor, even though she was capable of doing most of the chores. She did that because she had learned from her mistakes and started taking on the responsibilities of a mother and wife, letting Amadi rest and play with her peers in the street. Amadi enjoyed playing and was glad to have the opportunity to play, just like other children. She also started to perform better at school. Her father tried by all means to visit more often, even if he only spent 1 hour with them and returned to work. He also made sure that her daughter was not being overwhelmed by anything. His wife, Amadi's mother, also changed her ways. She no longer spends most of her time talking about useless things but instead spends most of her time on important tasks. She even started a garden and grew vegetables just to cut down their cost of living. Not buying vegetables monthly saved her a lot of money, which she saved for rainy days. Amadi and her husband were happy about her change and growth, and so was her mother, Amadi's grandmother. She scolded her for her laziness, but she did not change. She always had an excuse for it. Getting married and having children did not change her at all. Maybe being loved by her husband fueled her laziness. Because he did not love her less despite her laziness. It was as if he did not see his wife's laziness, judging from the way he loved her. Amadi, on the other side, did not like her mother's laziness, but she was afraid of speaking out as she was not lazy to beat her whenever she disobeyed her. She did everything she instructed her to do, even though she would be mad and think that her mother did not love her because she only focused on herself, not her responsibilities as a wife and mother. The fire incident was a wake-up call for her. It made her realize the avoidable consequences of laziness, so she made a firm decision to stop being lazy. Initially, it was challenging, but she eventually adapted to a more industrious lifestyle. She even found time to style her daughter, Amadi's hair, and she looked stunning as if she was a different person. Additionally, she kept her house clean at all times, and her friends were surprised by her remarkable transformation. Her change resulted in Amadi's freedom, and she enjoyed it and her childhood just like other children. The end. Thanks for watching.